Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the opening ceremony. To begin, it is my great honor to invite our officiating guest, the Vice President and Pro-Vice-Chancellor Academic Development of the University of Hong Kong, Professor Peng, to the stage to deliver his speech. Everyone, please join me in welcoming Professor Gong.
Good afternoon. I'm really debating whether or not I should use this or to just talk. I think I will use both, First of all, I need to rely on this script for a little bit. Dear Professor Nancy Law, distinguished guests, I see Professor Peng is sitting back there, all the colleagues. Thank you very much to join us for this important meeting. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to the CITES 2025. I remember last year I attended this too. This year we gather under the inspiring theme, touching hearts and inspiring minds with emerging digital technologies. So it's interesting. Digital technology made me to think about that for a short, just about 40 to 50 years time. In China, it's transformed from agricultural society to today. So I still remember in the 1980s, fertilizers are just being used. Machinery are just being introduced into the villages, and pesticides are just starting in the villages. Nobody are thinking about digital technology. But then in the 80s, you see portable computers coming into China. First, some IBM compatible, then Apple. It's a game machine basically at that time. It's just like a TV set, but with a board. But you can't really imagine at that time also universities buying some major machine called, main computing power in each university. They spend millions of US dollars to introduce those machines. And you need to punch card to process your work. But by 1994, we already are able to see hypertext, HTML. When I started my work at UC Berkeley in 1994, it's my first time to be exposed to Netscape. Now today we're using Google all the time. But at that time, using those browsers to look at hypertext. And when you run into some blue text, there's something linked behind it. Look at the photographs and all sorts of things, generating so much excitement. But today, we are in generative AI age. 1994 is actually already late. To many colleagues today, we think, we're excited about AI, particularly recent ChatGPT. In the past 10 years, there's another wave of AI. There are dying times of AI. There are also good times of AI. In 1986, when David Romhart, not a computer scientist, a psychologist at the University of Stanford, proposed the error backpropagation model for a three-layered artificial neural network. Now, it's not Hinton. Hinton is only following David Romhart. Lots of people don't know. Today, everybody is attributing all the beautiful works to Geoffrey Hinton. He was his collaborator. There are indeed a documented evidence. Multi-layer error backpropagation model-based artificial neural network is out of the invention for about half a year by a mathematician-based psychologist who want to work on how minds works. He want to find out how minds works. David Romahart is actually noteworthy. I think today I can openly tell you. By late 1990s, in the American Psychological Society, they established an award, 100,000 each year, US dollar, in the name of an alive person, David Romahart. So please go and check the 1986 important article published by University of MIT Press, in a book. It's not really, later, of course, he published openly in journal articles. So I'm trying to recall this period because I was a student. I was learning this, okay? Right after the error backpropagation model came out, I actually became a student to use it in remote sensing imagery taken from the satellite to interpret those kind of images. So today we're doing these things. I know I'm using up too much time to comment about this, but I just feel that today lots of people have a very short memory. They only talk about these past few years. Actually, there are foundational work built by giants in the past. You know who was the first winner of the Romahart Award? It's Geoffrey Hinton. Okay, the first, each year one awardee. Geoffrey Hinton won the first one of American Psychological Society. You can imagine now AI is definitely not just in computer science, definitely not just mathematics. AI is in every corner. Education plays an important role, which I really hope that education could take the leadership in developing the disruptive new concepts, not wasting so much energy today. Everybody is running big models, which uses so much energy. Now, there is a prediction. If we keep doing this, by 2050, China's energy sector would increase 20% devoted to big model running using computers. Can we bear that? Is that sustainable? Those are the things I think are all challenging to us. So in education, we try to do AI and try to cherish that and include that into our programs, curriculum. And HKU is actually making all sorts of efforts, including recruiting more people in different disciplines. This year, actually, the university budget has a very big proportion for additional new hires to be specializing on how to marry AI with different disciplines. So promoting the combination, integration of digital technology with every individual disciplines, not only just computer science. So I guess when I think about, I'm very enthusiastic about this field. I'm thinking that if I'm not going to do my administrative work, I'd like to work with you colleagues. This is a great area. And looking into the future, we envision the development of hybrid intelligence, not just artificial, but also human intelligence, of course. This integration holds great potential to enhance decision-making, ensure seamless integration of technologies. Actually, not just technology, seamless integration in human decision-making, because AI is helping our mind. Lots of technologies are helping our arms and legs, making us travel faster, making us reach farther. AI is helping our brain to work faster, efficiently, more accurate, to be able to synthesize multi-dimensional work that our brain are harder to synthesize. So at HKU, we're actively preparing for this future through collaborative research and partnership, as well as establishing dedicated research centers and teams. So our architecture for learning, which is developed based on the learning model that Professor Nancy Law will talk about in the panel discussion tomorrow morning. It's designed to support continuous innovation and creativity across our community. This ensures that HKU remains a leader. We're not there yet. We're way behind. We're hoping one day we will be, and we're hoping that day will be sooner in this exciting frontier. So I hope each one of you will find inspiration and insight in the session prepared through this symposium. Let us engage deeply, exchange ideas freely, and connect not just for today, but for many years to come. Thank you very much. I wish you all a very fruitful and enjoyable conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gong, for your inspiring words. Next, it is my great pleasure to invite our Deputy Director of CITE and the conference co-chairs of the CITES, Professor Nancy Law, to the stage to deliver her speech.
Good afternoon, Professor Gong, our esteemed keynote speakers, our CITES, so all the people who's affiliated with CITE, our guests, and so on. And so first of all, I would like to, on behalf of our Dean, to send everyone a very warm welcome to our campus and to this event. Because our Dean, unfortunately, is not able to join us. He's not in town. So, so the theme of this conference, as was mentioned several times, is touching hearts and inspiring minds with emerging digital technologies. Touching hearts and inspiring minds is the motto for us, or the tagline for our faculty, as we celebrate our 40th anniversary as a faculty of education. Now, obviously, teacher education or contributing to research and, well, I don't like the word training, but people tend to talk about training. We started and we had our first sort of teacher training program, I think it was 1917. So it's more than 100 years ago. And so with the establishment of faculty, we become one of the faculties, one of the 10 faculties in this university. And it is a big change because without being a faculty, we do not have our representation on the Senate. So this is very important, yes. So, so this year we talk about touching hearts and inspiring minds with digital technologies. I would also like to remind all our friends here that we also have a tagline for CITE, which we sort of established, or we sort of branded ourselves in, I think it was 2008, when we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the establishment of CITE. And our tagline is empowering communities and transforming learning. So I think even now, when we move into so-called AI age or whatever, transforming learning is still very, very important. If we don't transform learning, we won't have a future. And we can only do it if we work together as a community, or actually connecting communities. And whenever we now talk about emerging technologies, we cannot not think about AI. And I think, of course, we had many new digital technologies for so many years. But I would say, well, of course, there was a sensation when we have the AR or VR or even blockchain or whatever. But I would say the AI is probably another landmark, very different from the other changes. And even in terms of the debates that we have in the community, it's quite different. I mean, on the one hand, Hong Kong being a very pragmatic society, people would worry about the children not learning enough of the technology, they are not going to be competitive. But at the same time, people worry so much about also, well, many people were worried about the screen time. Should we limit the screen time? What about internet addiction or whatever? Now, the problem can be even worse. Can we just become so lazy? We get all our thinking done by the machines, or even worse, being cheated, right? So all the hallucinations or whatever. So what are we going to do? Well, I would say it's important for us then to not just think about what is being talked about every day on the media, but think more deeply about what actually the technology means for us. So this morning we had a brilliant keynote where Professor Azevedo was talking about digital human twins. I think most importantly, we need to be thinking about how humans connect with the machines. Just now, Professor Gong was also mentioning this. And I think one important thing where the technology differs, AI differs from earlier technologies, is that it is not just a tool, right? If we think about it as a tool, then we think about automation, we think about augmentation, but we can now collaborate with the technology, and we can be creating those technology for us to collaborate with, and we can also be working together with these technologies as teams, or as a team, or as teams. And so we work, anything we need to do, if it is significant, cannot be done by an individual. So we are used to be working and thinking about a team. But what about teammates who are machines, right? So I think these are very mind-boggling thoughts for me. And so it also then puts the onus on us, not only as users, but also, I think, as researchers. I think all of us, if we were to be rising to the occasion, we can't just say, okay, let people develop all these tools and I'm going to use it. We can't. And so we need to have an inquiring mind. And one of the things that we're really wanting to inquire is, what does it mean by human AI interaction? What kind of interaction? And how do different people say, we talk about, okay, Piaget is not that much in vogue now, but still, I would say, how do people develop? What's the trajectory of change and development? And we know, say, young children like toys, right? They play with artifacts, and they can play in an imaginary world. How would say, well, of course, now we have toys that are in fact AI agents as well. And how would it influence them? And so I think there's a lot of very important questions that we need to think about, inquire, and work together. So I think we've been very, very lucky, very fortunate in this conference that we had fantastic keynote speakers. So Roger was talking about human-machine symbiosis, human digital twins for AI-driven metacognition in education this morning. So right after this, Professor Inga Molenaar is going to talk about human-AI collaboration in education, the hybrid future. So what kind of hybrid future are we going to face? And then tomorrow morning, we will have Professor William Penu, who will be talking about responsible innovation in designing AI in education. So when we talk about transforming learning, it's not just talking about individual teachers changing their practice. In fact, we need to be talking about schools, institutions, and actually even the whole society, the system. And so in fact, educational leadership becomes quite different when we talk about this level of change. So thank you, Professor Gong, for mentioning the architecture for learning. That's something I've been working on for a long time, probably you can say about 2 decades, where I've been trying to understand how can change be scalable and sustainable. And so that needs another level of design, designing how we can help each other to learn and learn sustainably. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Dr. Julian Freylon, who would be talking about how children learn across the globe through the ICRS, the International Computer and Information Literacy Study. And so he will be telling us how children across the globe is doing, and also maybe talking a little bit about the upcoming ICRS 2028, where the AI literacy would be part of the what is going to be assessed. So with this, I think we are, of course, we have a lot of presentations by colleagues and friends and students. And tomorrow morning, we have many parallel sessions where we have presentations by our collaborators from schools in Hong Kong. Unfortunately, schools are in session today, and so many of them cannot come, but tomorrow morning we'll be sharing their experience. So I think we all can look forward to a very fruitful and enjoyable conference. And I'm sure that it's not just a formal conference, but also meeting friends, new and old. And so enjoy the conference. Thank you.